Welcome, YouTube friends and family, to part one of today's edition of the Wellness Homesteader. So you'll probably notice clothes changing, etc. throughout the video. I just like to film sometimes activities that I'm doing. On one day may not be enough for a full video, so we're going to put some holiday activities together. So I am wearing, yeah, Frankie, we are. Sorry, guys, my Santa baby sweatshirt. Guys, it is still freezing cold here in Ohio. It is 19 degrees this morning with a wind chill of 8, but it is anticipated to warm up to 42 today. So I am wearing my thickest sweatpants and my heaviest sweatshirt. So what are we going to do today? Well, you may remember, and guys, I tried to look back and I couldn't remember which video I put it in, when we made the apple cordial or apple brandy about 4 months ago. So this has been sitting in a dark corner of my pantry. I had a heavy cookbook and a glass lid to this 2-quart container sitting on top. And what you may notice at first, whoo, I smell that, is it's come way down. But I am super pleased to show you all. Hold on, wait for it. I got absolutely no mold, and this is my first try ever. So I did 2 layers of plastic wrap with a rubber band, kept the book on it. The only thing I did to check it, I never opened it, was to just, look at the liquid. So what you might notice is the liquid is only up to about right here. So even though this is a 2-gallon crock or container, we're gonna get very little apple brandy out of it. And as a refresher, this was Zestar apples, raisins from Azure, so they were organic, and sugar. So is this a diabetes approved beverage? Absolutely not. I wanted this to maybe have, like, if you have a cough or something like that, a bit of the recipe for medicine. So I am going to actually give a whole new meaning to day drinking. It's 7 o'clock in the morning, y'all. But I thought, you know what, it's ready, and I want to see what we have. Whew. Whew. Wow, y'all. It smells like some strong stuff. Whew. And depending on how it tastes and whether I like it, I'm not a drinker of alcohol, guys. I don't think that, this is just my personal belief. I think anything in moderation is okay. Again, I think this has some applications for celebrations. And if you've all seen the Andy Griffith episode where it's called Alcohol and Old Lace, is the name of the episode, huge Andy Griffith fan, where the Morrison sisters were making elixir for celebrations like National Potato Day. All right, guys. Whew. One of the things, based on my research, and I'll tell you my research, is some people like to eat the fruit. I do not plan to eat the fruit. I just think it's going to be too much. And the top apples are pretty dry. So anything above the level of the liquid, I don't think really has any point to be drained, filtered, etc. Once you start to get down into where there is liquid, and I'm getting close, ooh, I may want to strain it. So what's the best way to strain it, and what can you do with the fruit? So let me share that with you. I really enjoy some episodes of Off Grid with Doug and Stacy. And I'm not saying I align with every viewpoint that they have, but Stacy has a lot of knowledge about fermentation in general and living off grid and being self-sufficient. So she does caution, and I can totally see why. I'm gonna step away from that. Whew. This may be like an epic fail, guys. Don't feed this to animals, guys. One of the things she said is, some people will feed it to their chickens or pigs. Well, a drunk animal, first of all, is just wrong on every level. But alcohol causes dehydration, and could lead to death. And you have to remember, like chickens, little body, definitely don't want to do that. And here's a couple little known facts about chickens. Did you know that chickens cannot detect heat, like from jalapenos, etc., or sweet, but they can taste salty? I did not know that. You know, full of useless facts. So what could you do with the fruit? Well, if you're thus inclined, you could save it for use in like baked goods. I just, yeah, I don't plan to keep the fruit, guys, and if that's wasteful, that's wasteful. All right, back to straining. Let me get this top layer off, get down to the liquid. I will bring you back, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put it in a strainer over a bowl. Then we'll bottle it, and we'll give a little taste. All right, stay tuned. Whew. I don't know if I'm brave enough to taste this. So one of the things I thought this would be kind of neat to use it for is you could actually put vanilla beans into your apple brandy and create a sort of an extract that you would use in baking. And that way the alcohol would cook out if you're not a drinker of alcohol, which I am not. What Stacy does is she takes just a flour sack towel, like yay. She puts her fruit in it, ties it up over a bowl so that it can filter and drip. And I can see why. So this is the first, and you can see it's quite opaque. And then this is the last, the bottom of the jar. So there's a lot more apple solids in the bottom of the jar. So let's be really brave. Let's take a taste. Whew. I'm not used to that smell. It is my thing. I want to do this before I decide whether or not I want to go through the effort of draining the fruit. So what am I going to do with the fruit? Because I don't think I ever got there. I'm going to put it in my compost bin. I figure that way no animals can get to it. My compost bin does lock. All right, here we go, guys. Cheers. Guys, I have to tell you, it smells so strong. Whew. You know, it's not bad. It's really not bad. It's quite appley. And although it smells very fermented, it doesn't taste super fermented. A little warm going down, but not as if you took, you know, a shot of Vicks Formula 44 cough syrup that my mother gave us when we were kids, which was mostly alcohol. So I think I am going to spend the time on trying to drain it, strain it, even the stuff that I've already bottled. I think if I put it through that, it'll make a clearer product. I do plan to store mine in the refrigerator. Stacy got a lot more. She said she gets about a half gallon out of a 2-gallon jar. I got 16 and 8 is 24 ounces, so not like 3 cups, like not even a quart. So there's probably a lot of value in straining the end of the fruit. Would I do this again? I'm just gonna be wholly honest with y'all. Probably not. Given the amount of ingredients that it took to produce such a small amount of something that would have limited uses, I probably wouldn't. But I love having the ability to do all sorts of different things. And, you know, not to go to the dark side, but in lean times and times of bartering, sometimes things like this are good to have to trade with others. All right, guys, I'm going to continue working with this smelly stuff. And yeah, we'll see what we'll get into a little later in this video. So I hope you'll stay tuned. Well, good morning again. And this is actually the next day after our apple cordial process. And I have to tell y'all, just because I want to be transparent and honest, once I had drained out all of the apple cordial, apple brandy, whatever you want to call it, It was quite cloudy, and I made the decision not to strain the fruit because there was a lot of solids, and once it was all mixed together, the top of the jar versus the bottom of the jar, y'all, I don't care for it. So that one was kind of a fail. A success in that, yes, I managed to make it. A fail in that I don't like it. And sometimes that's what happens, and it's good when you do things in small batches for that reason. So let's do a small batch this morning. So today I wanted to bring you another recipe. It is not a Throwback Thursday, from this 1976 Better Homes and Gardens Gifts from the Kitchen. And the reason I didn't do it for Throwback Thursday is I was waiting on some ingredients to arrive. So this recipe is for energy butter. Y'all let me, okay, it's almost ready. And please excuse, yes, I have on sweatpants today. Cute shirt. You know, it's kind of like being on a Zoom meeting where, you know, you're business on the top and party on the bottom, in shorts and such. I always lived in fear when I worked remotely that I would be observed not being professional, so I usually dressed head to toe. At any rate, so what is energy butter? So it is basically a type of nut butter, but I really like this recipe because it is table sugar free. Now, if you all have bought any of the sugar and salt free nut butters, like from Azure, or Aldi has them as well, they do separate, and sometimes they're not super good. Just gonna say, we in America anyway are accustomed to having butters that have high fructose corn syrup, lots of salt, other additives and preservatives, so highly processed. So this uses currants to sweeten a bit. So I thought, well, this will be diabetes friendly. Always check with your healthcare professional. So these are Zante currants. And if you're wondering what a currant is, inquiring minds want to know, Zante currants are made from Zante grapes, and they look like very tiny raisins. They smell a lot like raisins because after all, they're dehydrated grapes. So let me grab my water here, and we're gonna get started making 2 cups. So I'm gonna be using the half pint jars. So it's not gonna make a ton, but much like the apple brandy, I want to try it first. I have enough I could make several batches. So here are what the Zante currants look like. And you want to put those half a cup into a bowl, cover it with boiling water. How simple is this, right? And set it aside to cool. And what that's going to do, y'all, is it's going to plump them. And, you know, kind of like you would plump a raisin if you're gonna make, applesauce raisin bread. I'm craving all the sweets, guys. So these I could not find in any local grocery store. I will say that. I did get them from Amazon. They're not inexpensive, but I'm going to vacuum seal whatever I don't eat. This is a pound into a jar. They are no sugar added. And what is in there is Zante black currants and sunflower oil. So even from Azure, many places, you will find that raisins are oiled, and that just prevents them from drying out and sticking together. So just a little bit about the nutrition facts. The serving size is 50 grams. Okay, how much is that? I don't know. They don't really say. 9 servings per container. So, you know, probably a pretty healthy amount, 140 calories, 4 grams of fiber, and 39 grams of carbs. But guys, again, and always check with your endocrinologist, your diabetes care professional. I find, and I am new to this, that natural foods do not spike my blood sugar like table sugar would. So I'm looking for alternatives to just straight up sweetening things. All right, let's get measuring out the rest of the ingredients. The next item is 7 ounces I should have had the scale out, guys, excuse me. 7 ounces of dry roasted cashews. Now, I really thought dry roasted cashews would be like dry roasted peanuts, right? Hold on a minute. I got too many things plugged in at once. And that is not the case in the ones that I purchased. I did open them and take a taste test. I always like tasting things before I put them into a recipe. It's early, guys. It's not even 6 o'clock. So this is from Whole Foods Market. It is no salt added, organic dry roasted cashews, and contains cashews, may contain peanuts, other tree nuts, milk, wheat, soy, and sesame. Well, that stinks. But the ingredients are organic dry roasted cashews. I guess they have to put the caution for people who have anaphylactic allergies. So let's go ahead and measure out 7 ounces of cashews. And this was 10 ounces, so I'm going to use most of the bag. Oh, I guess I won't have enough. But I think you could probably do this with other types of nuts. But if you've ever had cashew butter, oh my word, y'all, so good. That'd be too many. Now, if you're on a salt-restricted diet, you may not want to add salt to it. I thought that I would purely follow the recipe. We'll give it a taste test. If it is not satisfactory, well, then we'll add more salt or add salt. So to that, we're going to add some sunflower kernels, I guess you would say. And we need 1/3 cup. And these again are the organic Whole Foods version. Guys, you don't have to do that. Do I eat everything organically? Absolutely. Pardon me, absolutely not. Y'all have watched me cook enough, you know that. I do when I can, and if it's not affordable or not available, I don't worry so much about it. And I try to stick to things where, in my opinion, it makes the most difference. All right, now we need 3/4 cup or 4 ounces of sesame seeds. So tahini, if you've ever had tahini, which is an ingredient in hummus, is made from white sesame seeds. So these still smell fresh. I had vacuum sealed these. I do buy these in bulk from Azure. So let's add 4 ounces. Such a simple recipe, right? Wow, that's a lot of sesame seeds. Yeah, okay. Love having a scale. Really does make a difference. So what else we will need for this recipe, and I'm going to pause the video just be a second for you because I've got to wait for my currants to cool. I have to get them drained. Is we are going to need some type of cooking oil and some salt, which interestingly enough, they don't list salt in the ingredients, but down in there in the instructions, it says blend in 1/2 teaspoon of salt in the currants. So we're going to make it all together in one bowl, and then we'll pack it into our jars. So I am going to wait on my currants to cool, and I'll bring you back in just a shake. And you will also need a blender, and we're going to blend this up in increments according to the directions. I hope you'll stay tuned. We're ready to move on to our next step. So here I have the picture to my Ace Instant Pot blender. And y'all, I did check on Amazon and I cannot find it available anywhere. You might be able to find it at walmart.com or at your local Walmart. At any rate, what the directions say is, in blender, combine 1/3 of the cashews, sesame seeds, and sunflower seeds. Blend on low speed till finely chopped. stopping often to scrape sides of container. Add 2 tablespoons of oil. Blend until pureed. Turn into mixing bowl. Repeat twice more with remaining cashews. La 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 la. So let's put about 1/3 of this in here. Now my suspicion, guys, one of the things about cooking from, this is like none. With today's high speed and advanced blenders compared to what we had in 76, I'm thinking that you can probably blend it all, but let's follow the recipe for the sake of following it. So I'm gonna latch on my lid. And y'all, I know this is super loud. And oh, by the way, y'all, I am going to try to remember to speak up a little better. I've noticed that the audio on my videos isn't real great. And I just have a very soft voice. People that are hard of hearing are like, huh? Not making fun. Okay, so let me do that. And once I get it kind of pureed and see, do I think we can put them all in there? Should we do it in small batches? That's going to be 6 tablespoons of cooking oil. If the consistency is right without that much cooking oil, I will probably do that. I don't mind a pretty stiff nut butter or energy butter. All right, I'm going to blend these up. I'll bring you back. This smells incredible. But as suspected, guys, in today's high power, high capacity blender, I think you could at least do half at a time. But let's go ahead, since I've got 1/3 of it kind of mooshed up here, let's go ahead and add our 2 tablespoons of oil. Now I am going to just use my Azure avocado organic oil. You could use any type of cooking oil that you prefer. So let's add our 2 tablespoons. My concern is that some of these consistencies may vary just straight up based on how many nuts and such, since I didn't weigh it, you know, exactly. Okay. Salt and the currants go when we've got it all blended. So let me blend this a little bit, and then we'll take a look at and maybe do a little taste of where we are. All right, could just be my blender. Yeah, it's bogging down tremendously. It's a very small amount. It's gathering around the blade. I can't get it to blend on low, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put it all in here. I will add 4 more tablespoons of oil, depending on the consistency. I'm gonna blend this up, and I will bring you back once I have all the oil added and everything blended, and then we'll take a taste. That might have been a labor of love. So y'all, that is one thing to know when you are cooking from a vintage recipe, that today's appliances may work a little differently than what they did back in the olden days, you know? And I thought, well, 70s hasn't been that long ago. Maybe like almost 50 years. So I definitely, for my blender, think putting all of the nuts in and all of the oil, and just maybe 20-second increments is what I did, 20 to 30. Then I would scrape it down. It does need scraped down a lot. It did take the full 6 tablespoons of oil. There was no way that it was going to blend. It kept getting an error message. So let's taste it. It smells absolutely amazing. So it's more textured, like a crunchy peanut butter. Wow. Okay, that is yum. I can really taste the sesame seeds, which kind of surprises me. I do think a little salt will improve the flavor. And I am going to blend it again, and I'm just using my Redmond real salt. It calls for a ½ teaspoon. So let's blend it one more time. And then the currants, it says just stir in. I don't know, guys. They plumped up beautifully. They smell like a raisin in the best sort of way. I think they're supposed to be like chunked, not, you know, diced up or pureed up. So let's give this one more whirl. Then I'm going to scrape it out into a bowl. We'll add our currants, and then I was able to find 4 tasting jars. I gift a lot of those, and they can be hard to find. That tasting jar is, gosh, how much is it? I think it's half a cup. So I wanted a few more, you know, for gifting purposes. So let me get this finished. We'll be back in a minute, please. For whatever reason, I don't know whether it was straight up just blending time or the additional salt. This made it much, much creamier. Y'all, hold on a minute, y'all. Short girl problems. Let me tip you down just a touch. There we go. Look how nice and creamy that is. I think the consistency is spot on. It is thick, but hello, peanut butter's thick. So let's go ahead and add, oops, I licked on that one, our currants. And y'all, this is really going to be a different year for me. One of my long-term memories was making candies and cookies and goodies with my mother. She hasn't been able to do that, or was not able to do that for the last few years of her life, for sure. But I continued the tradition. And, you know, at first I thought, I'm really, really sad because I've lost that. And what I've actually decided is I haven't lost that. I still have the memories. And even though I can't eat the, you know, highly concentrated sweets anymore, it doesn't mean that I can't make it for those who can have it. And it also doesn't mean that I can't find alternatives like energy butter. So let's pack up a jar here. One of the things it does say here is you should do directions, you know, with the gift that says keep refrigerated till ready to use. Y'all, I'm just drying these. They didn't get super dry. So I'm sure that's gonna thicken it, but then once it comes out of the refrigerator, I don't know, oil rancidity is a real problem. With no preservatives, I would keep it refrigerated. Wow, it's gonna be the least messy way to do this. Let me grab a little spatula. Yeah. And we are going to taste it with the currants. I have a feeling this is going to be quite a neat treat, and something that, of course, all in moderation, anyone could eat, unless you've been specifically told, yeah, I can't have it. And one of the things that I am very amazed at as a nurse of 42 years is that the whole arena around diabetic protocols and diabetes has really changed. Back when I was in nursing school, I have to tell you, people were prescribed extraordinarily restrictive diets, and of course there weren't all of the sweetener alternatives that we have today. And someone commented, this is actually Thursday, I'm filming this, but somebody commented, you know, you can use the cup for cup or the measure for measure sweeteners, and they do come out nowadays because we have so much more options. Back when I was in nursing school, or, you know, a new grad, I graduated in 1981. I'm not old or anything. The only artificial sweetener that I can remember, now there may have been more, was sweet and low, which was not conducive to baking. It was not measure for measure. So I am getting this on the counter. I just wiped the counter again. I think we can really clean this bowl out good. Let me get these jars packed up. I'll leave a little taste test. I'm gonna grab a cracker and we'll see, is this as good? I confess, I might have tasted it after the salt, and the salt level for me is perfect. It's not super salty, but yet it did add a little something, something. Are you ready for the taste test? So I have a little bit of cracker, and I do have a currant in, you can't see it, but in the nut butter. So let's give it a taste. Yo, this is a winner. And excuse my red hands, I've been washing dishes. Way better than regular peanut butter. Plenty salty, guys, plenty. Pardon me, especially if you're gonna eat it on a cracker. That would be so good on like a sliced up apple. Oh yes. The currants aren't super duper sweet, but it does add a little back note of sweet when you bite into the currant. So I ended up with 4 of these adorable tasting jars. I vacuum sealed my lids. I am going to refrigerate them until they're ready for gifting. Might have to keep one, just saying it. I would say this could make a really cute little like hostess gift. You know, take a little piece of fabric or just some ribbon and tie around with the to and from tag and the instructions about refrigeration, or maybe even ingredients label on the back if you're concerned about people with allergies. You could put this with some fancy crackers, with a little kind of like a spreader set. I think that would be adorable, inexpensive way to show someone that you appreciate them and you're thinking about them during the holiday season. So guys, I'm going to just thank you again for keeping me in your thoughts and prayers. I'm definitely better on the nausea, but I definitely still have it. Just saying. But it kind of comes and goes, but I do think I'm adapting. The physician thinks I will adapt and that eventually the nausea will disappear. I will say this week's been much better than last week. I have not still decorated for Christmas. But I'm getting there. So I look forward to sharing some of my vintage treasures with you in lieu of like a whole house Christmas tour. I've done that a few other years. You can look at my Vlogmas playlists that if you want to see some of my previous decor, but I do want to put some things up. Get my Christmas records out, my vinyl, play a few of those, and try to have an afternoon of just enjoyment. I will see you all next week. And next week will probably be a little more holiday focused. We'll still have our Throwback Thursday, Lord willing. So do me a big favor if you haven't already. Go ahead and smash that like button. Is this something you would consider making? What nuts might you change up from the cashews if you're not a fan of cashews? I'd be interested to hear. All right, guys, I will see you next week. But until then, be healthy, be well, be blessed, and take care.